You lie still. There is no sound, no wind, no ticking clock, only the quiet hum beneath you. A low vibration, ancient and patient, running through the bones of the earth. It's almost nothing, and yet satellites far above feel it every moment. NASA's Swarm Trio. 3 identical spacecraft circling the Earth in silent formation listens to this hum the way a seashell listens to the ocean. They trace invisible currents around our planet, the magnetic lines that rise and fall like the chest of something alive. You breathe in. The air feels ordinary, but it isn't. Above you, a river of charged particles sweeps past, touching the upper atmosphere, stretching it, folding it, bending it with a gentleness that you can't feel, but the sky remembers. The earth wraps these particles into its magnetic field, the way a hand cups water carefully, instinctively. You close your eyes, and for a moment, the world narrows into a single steady rhythm. Some people imagine space as silent, but tonight it feels full of distant pulses, full of light you can't see, full of movements too slow for a restless mind to notice. The solar wind is passing over us again, carrying whispers from a star 93 million miles away. It arrives in waves, always moving, always reshaping the sky. Not violently, not tonight, only as a soft pressure like someone smoothing a blanket. High above the clouds, auroras ripple along the poles, even when no one is watching. They arch and flow, green, violet, rose the colors depending on which atoms are touched and how gently the sun brushes them. No one calls them by their scientific names at this hour. They're just lights. Lights that appear when the Earth dreams. The swarm satellites drift through those fields, feeling the magnetic heartbeat of the planet rise a little, fall a little, pulse a little. And you lie there breathing unaware that the same rhythm lives inside your neurons. Tiny ions moving, tiny voltages shifting, tiny storms forming and dissolving with each thought. Tonight, the outer storm and the inner one seem strangely aligned. You don't need to understand why, you only need to rest. Somewhere far away, the sun has released another stream of particles. A normal one, not fast, not dangerous, just a quiet exhale from a star that never stops breathing. The particles won't reach Earth for hours, but their light, the first flash of an eruption, has already passed, slipping across space in just 8.5 minutes, striking the ionosphere, waking it like a thin drum skin. You didn't feel it. Most people never do, but Earth felt it. The upper atmosphere warmed by a fraction of a degree, expanding ever so slightly. The global electric circuit brightened just a little, sending subtle ripples through layers of air that no human hand has ever touched. It isn't dramatic. It's just part of the sky's routine. The same way your lungs rise and fall without your permission. A scientist might show you graphs and numbers, but lying here, all you need is the image, the Earth breathing, the sun breathing, and you breathing between them. You turn your head slightly. Somewhere beyond the darkness, orbiting in a long loop, the Parker Solar Probe dives closer to the sun than any spacecraft in history. It skims through plasma hotter than anything found naturally on Earth, gathering evidence of solar winds, flares, and magnetic knots that twist like vines of fire. Those measurements won't reach the world until much later, but their story begins here, in the quiet moment when the sky shifts almost imperceptibly. NASA calls these shifts disturbances. The Earth calls them weather. You simply call them something you feel but cannot name. Another breath. The room seems warmer now, not because the air changed, but because you have. Outside, the magnetosphere stretches a little more, a soft, elastic arc, absorbing what drifts toward it. If you could see it, you might think of a shimmering bubble glowing faintly at the edges where the solar wind presses against it. Every child has blown soap bubbles before that moment when the film shivers before becoming a sphere. The Earth's magnetic bubble shivers in the same way, though its skin is made of charged particles and invisible lines of force. Another wave from the sun glides toward it, small, gentle. And in that gentle movement, something beautiful happens. The entire planet reacts as one. Oceans conduct currents they cannot feel. Mountains absorb stray charges in total silence. Trees release ions into the night air. Clouds shift slightly under new electrical patterns. Nothing dramatic, nothing threatening, just change, tiny continual change. You would never notice. But if you could step outside of time, if you could see the Earth not as a moment, but as a long, slow motion, you would see the sky breathing in and out. You inhale unconsciously, matching its rhythm. Somewhere far beyond the moon's orbit, farther than the comfortable realm of our planets, something else is moving. A small interstellar object, a wanderer from a star that is not ours, glides through space on a trajectory that will bring it near the sun and then out again, drifting back into the dark. Scientists track it gently, carefully, without assumptions. It is only a visitor passing through, shaped by radiations and pressures we do not fully understand. Just as a traveler carries dust from distant lands, this object carries material older than our entire solar system. You exhale slowly. If you listen closely, not with ears but with presence, you might sense that the universe is not a still place. It sways, it circulates, it murmurs to itself in particles and fields and long rolling tides of light. A tiny spark of awareness flickers at the back of your mind. When the sky changes, do you ever wonder if something inside you changes too? The question drifts away, soft as vapor. You don't try to answer it. Instead, you let the room settle again. Your thoughts slow. The outside world dims. Another wave of particles slides around the Earth's magnetic shield, absorbed like a whisper, disappearing into a pillow. You lie still. The hum returns. The same hum Swarm hears, the same hum Parker feels near the sun, the same hum the interstellar traveler crosses as it drifts toward the inner system. Everything is moving. Everything is calm. Tonight the universe is wide, but your place inside it has never felt softer. You wake slowly, not because you moved, but because something in the air seems different tonight. It's subtle, a kind of weightlessness in the room, a softness pressing through the walls as if the atmosphere itself has shifted by a fraction of a breath. Above you, far above where clouds form and fade, something is traveling toward Earth. Not a storm in the way you know, storms, no thunder, no rain, but a stream of charged particles gliding through space with the patience of ancient rivers. This is the solar wind. It has been blowing for billions of years, drifting outward from the sun in a constant quiet exhale. If you could stand in space and hold out your hand, you would feel nothing, and yet the solar wind is powerful enough to sculpt entire planets, shape magnetic fields, and carve tails out of comets like they were smoke. Tonight that wind is just a little stronger. Not enough to harm, not enough to disturb anything in your life, only enough for the Earth to notice. The sun has released a small burst of plasma again, common, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. NASA's SOHO spacecraft, floating in the calm of the L1 Lagrange point, watched it unfold earlier. A ripple of light, a wave of electrons and protons rising from the solar surface like a sigh. You didn't see it, but the sky did. Now those particles traveling 1,000,000 miles per hour are approaching the invisible boundary that surrounds our planet. You breathe out unaware, you are mirroring the sun's long exhale. The solar wind touches Earth the way warm breath touches cold glass. Softly, gently, but with purpose. The magnetic shield around Earth stretches in response, expanding on one side, compressing on the other, like fabric pushed by a slow-moving tide. Geomagnetic models show this every day. Quiet wiggles, soft distortions, nothing dramatic, nothing dangerous, just motion. To your body lying still in the dark, this motion feels like calm. Far out in orbit, NASA's ACE spacecraft measures the solar wind in real-time density, velocity, temperature, sending those numbers down to Earth every second. Scientists read them like you might read the weather. But the sky doesn't speak in numbers, it speaks in sensations. In the Arctic, auroras begin to tremble along the horizon, thin lines of emerald weaving themselves into the night. They form when electrons from the solar wind fall into Earth's magnetic funnels, spiraling along invisible paths until they strike oxygen and nitrogen in the upper atmosphere. When oxygen is touched gently, it glows green. When nitrogen is kissed more deeply, it glows violet. You imagine that tonight the auroras are breathing with you. And in a way they are. Each glow is a soft collision, a particle from the sun meeting the sky above Earth, transferring a small spark of energy, a microscopic moment of light. Billions of these happen every minute. If you could stretch time, if you could watch the world unfold slowly, you'd see the auroras rise and fade like tides, not random but rhythmic, echoing the sun's quiet mood swings. The solar wind isn't always even. It pulses. It fluctuates. It carries memories of where it came from: bright regions, dark coronal holes, magnetic arcs that snap open like threads breaking. Tonight's wind carries the signature of a small coronal opening. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory captured it earlier, a dark patch near the sun's equator, where magnetic fields opened outward like a doorway, letting particles stream freely into space. Doorways, winds, breath, it all feels strangely human. You breathe in again, the air cool and familiar, unaware that 100 kilometers above your head, the atmosphere is glowing faintly with electrons settling back into place. There is no drama here, not in this moment, just distance, just motion, just the way the universe moves when nobody is looking. Maybe that's why nights like this feel different. Because something old is brushing against the world, reminding you that you live on a drifting sphere, suspended in a sea of moving light. You roll gently to one side. Another wave of particles glides toward Earth, only this one is slightly faster. ACE detects the velocity rising by a handful of kilometers per second. SOHO confirms the density shifting. To scientists, this is data. To the Earth, it is contact. The magnetosphere leans back, stretching outward like a shimmering cloak catching the breeze. Charged particles spiral along the magnetic lines, settling into the night side of the planet, tracing quiet arcs. You feel none of this directly, but your body, in its own subtle ways, seems to fall into rhythm with it, as if the sky's pulse becomes your pulse. Isn't it strange how your body seems to sense things your mind never notices? The thought rises slowly, then fades. Outside, the solar wind wraps around the planet and continues its journey, streaming past Earth toward the outer solar system. Nothing stops it. Nothing interrupts it. It drifts past the orbit of Mars, brushing the dust that floats between planets. It flows farther out toward Jupiter's massive magnetic field, which catches some particles like a net. Beyond that, toward Saturn, the wind grows thinner, stretched across unimaginable distances. Some particles drift all the way to the heliopause, the boundary where the sun's influence ends, and continue into interstellar space, joining the currents between stars. How many of these journeys have happened? How many breaths has the sun released since the Earth was formed? It's impossible to know, but tonight a small one reaches your world. and for reasons you can't explain, you feel comfort in that. The solar wind is older than every mountain, every ocean, every word ever spoken, and yet it brushes past your planet with a gentleness that makes you feel safe, not threatened. Far in the distance, an interstellar visitor continues its silent arc toward the inner solar system, a piece of ancient matter from a place even older than our sun. It too moves through the solar wind, shaped and shifted by the same forces that shape everything. But that story will come later. For now, you lie still. The magnetic field bends and relaxes. The atmosphere glows in places no human eye will ever see, and the solar wind flows past, touching everything and changing nothing, except perhaps the way you feel tonight. What if the universe touches you more often than you realize? The question drifts away like a feather caught in a current. You settle deeper into your pillow. Outside, the sky continues its slow conversation with itself, starlight, plasma, magnetic breath, ancient particles drifting across the void. Inside, you drift with it. You don't remember falling into this quiet. It arrives the way twilight arrives, not suddenly, but in a slow shifting of colors, a subtle softening of edges. The air feels gentle. The room feels as if it has taken a deeper breath, and you, without noticing, drift with it. Somewhere above your head, far above the clouds, above the drifting path of airplanes, above even the boundary where the sky begins to thin, something delicate is happening. The earth is charging, not like a battery, not like a storm preparing to crack open the horizon, but like a whisper forming, like a thought waking, like a musical string trembling before a single note. NASA's satellites sense it long before anyone on the surface does. The Gold mission, floating high above South America, watches the ionosphere glow and dim like a lantern behind layers of invisible curtains. The Icon spacecraft listens for ripples, tiny changes in charged particles drifting through the night sky. You wouldn't know any of this if no one told you, and yet, somehow you feel calmer knowing the sky is alive. The ionosphere stretches across the earth like a thin veil of electricity. It rises and falls depending on sunlight, on solar wind pressure, on magnetic shifts that flow from pole to pole. During the day, it thickens, energized by ultraviolet light. During the night, it thins, softens, settles. Tonight it is glowing just a little brighter than usual, not visible, not to your eyes, but present, alive. If you could float above the earth and look down with the instruments NASA uses, far ultraviolet spectrometers, high-speed imagers, you would see the upper atmosphere shimmer faintly, like a silk cloth brushed by a passing hand. What you are feeling now is not the shimmer itself, but the stillness that follows it. You inhale slowly. The air feels heavier, though maybe it's just the moment settling deeper around you. Your thoughts move slower, rounding at the edges. Your heartbeat seems to synchronize with something far bigger than your body. And above you, the sky continues to shift. Charged particles arrive from the solar wind, drifting into the ionosphere. Some collide with oxygen, some with nitrogen, each creating a tiny flash of light, too faint, too high for your eyes, but not too faint to exist. Billions of microscopic sparks lighting and fading every second. It's strange, isn't it? How the earth can be so quiet and yet filled with such constant motion. You're lying still, and yet the world around you is flowing electric, soft, steady. The charged layer of the atmosphere begins to thicken in places. Not everywhere, only where the magnetic field lines concentrate energy. Over the poles it brightens. Over the equator it hums. Scientists call these changes density variations. But if you let yourself imagine it, it feels more like the earth is adjusting its posture, straightening, preparing itself, breathing. There is no danger in this moment, no threat, only the elegant choreography of physics at work, as smooth and ancient as the turning of the planets. The solar wind's newest pulse brushes against the magnetosphere, sending ripples along its surface. These ripples travel down magnetic field lines toward the poles like raindrops sliding down a window pane and strike the ionosphere, energizing it even more. You don't feel the energy directly, but the Earth does. The ground beneath you holds steady, absorbing currents that slide silently through the crust. You're touching the planet without realizing it, your body part of the same circuit, the same slow-moving symphony. Another breath. NASA's Themis satellites detect small waves, Alpha-Ven waves, rolling through the magnetotail, the long region of stretched magnetic field on the night side of Earth. These waves transfer energy down toward the poles, feeding auroras that may form hours later. Everything is connected, though softly enough that most of the world sleeps through it. You blink slowly. Your eyes feel heavier now. Maybe it's the hour, maybe it's the quiet, or maybe in some gentle, ancient way, you're sensing the world's long, slow exhale. You turn slightly, just enough for the sheets to shift. That movement, tiny as it is, feels like part of a larger motion, the subtle exchange between your body and the invisible field surrounding the Earth. Electricity isn't something you usually think of as soft, but in this moment it is. The Earth's global electric circuit, a vast looping system connecting the ground, the atmosphere, and the ionosphere, brightens just a little as more charged particles drift downward. Campfires used to be the heartbeat of ancient nights. Now the heartbeat is the sky itself. High above in the thermosphere, temperatures rise slightly, not enough to matter to you, not enough to change the world, just enough to mark the passing of a solar whisper through the upper atmosphere. If you were floating there, you could raise your hand and feel heat without flame. But here in your room, wrapped in quiet, it feels like a kind of warmth inside the thoughts themselves. You let yourself drift. The Earth's electric charge continues to adjust, flowing gently through layers of atmosphere and soil. In some regions, the increase is tiny, too small for instruments on the ground. In other regions, the charge lingers, creating pathways where lightning might someday travel. Tonight, lightning sleeps, but the air remembers. At this moment, the only thing moving above you is ionized gas and the faint breath of particles arriving from millions of miles away. Thousands of satellites drift through the charged layers, each following its orbit with silent precision. Starlink clusters glide in formation. Weather satellites rotate slowly. GPS networks pulse with timing signals that bounce effortlessly through the energized air. Even in this collective motion, there is tranquility. The Earth holds everything in place. The magnetosphere holds the Earth. The sun holds the magnetosphere. And you somehow feel held as well. You inhale again. If someone asked you why this moment feels calm, you wouldn't be able to explain it. But the atmosphere could. Because above you, the charging of the Earth is not chaos. It is balance. It is the natural response of a world shaped by a star. Quiet energy, quiet motion, quiet harmony. A thought drifts through your mind, light and soft. Do you think the sky ever notices you the way you notice it now? The question doesn't linger. It folds into the moment, dissolving like a spark in the upper air. The Earth keeps charging, settling, humming. You keep breathing, drifting, softening. Nothing loud, nothing sharp, only the invisible, beautiful way that energy moves through the sky, the ground, and you. And it will continue long after you fall asleep. You've never seen it with your own eyes. No one really has. And yet it's wrapped around you every hour of your life, a vast shimmering veil that touches oceans, mountains, forests, cities, and the dark spaces in between. You can't feel it on your skin, and you can't breathe it into your lungs, but it is there, holding the world together with a force older than memory. the Earth's magnetic field. You're lying there in the dim room, unaware that a river of invisible energy is flowing above and below you. It begins deep under your feet, where molten iron churns at thousands of degrees, creating electrical currents powerful enough to sculpt the very shape of space around the planet. From that ancient furnace, the field rises outward, piercing through crust and ocean, emerging into the sky like smoke you can't see. Then it stretches into space, forming a bubble that shields the Earth from the solar wind, a bubble scientists call the magnetosphere. But bubble isn't quite right. It's more like a cloak, a veil, something soft enough to yield to the solar wind, and yet strong enough to protect everything living on the world beneath it. If you could rise upward past the roof, past the clouds, past the soft glow of the atmosphere, and look down from 50,000 miles above the Earth, you would see something astonishing, a faint shape like a teardrop surrounding the planet. That shape is the magnetic veil. On the side facing the sun, it is compressed, pressed inward by the constant push of the solar wind. On the night side, it stretches far into the darkness, like a long tail, the magnetotail, reaching almost 1,000,000 miles into space. You lie still, unaware that this tail grows and contracts each night, like the slow movement of a sleeping creature. NASA's magnetospheric multi-scale Mission 4 spacecraft, flying in perfect formation, slips through these invisible currents, measuring the way they twist and reconnect. Sometimes magnetic lines snap open and reattach in a burst of energy. Sometimes they bend gently like reeds in the wind. If you could hear those motions, they wouldn't sound like anything violent. They would sound like fabric shifting, or like the low hum of a distant cello string. Tonight the veil is calm. The solar wind arriving at Earth is strong enough to push the field, but not strong enough to disturb it. The magnetosphere yields, then holds. It bends, then settles. A quiet balance, the kind you can feel without knowing why. You breathe in. Far above the Van Allen radiation belts, 2 rings of charged particles orbit the Earth like halos. NASA's Van Allen probes spent years traveling through them, gathering data on how they inflate during storms and contract when the sky grows quiet. Tonight they are contracting. The belts tighten slightly as if exhaling. The energy trapped inside them drifts outward, gradually dispersing into the magnetosphere. Electrons glide along curved magnetic lines, spiraling toward the poles where they may eventually contribute to tomorrow's auroras. Everything in the magnetic veil moves slowly. Softly, you roll onto your side. Somewhere in the dark, your heartbeat slows a little, finding a deeper rhythm. Maybe it's coincidence, maybe it's just the nature of rest, but perhaps in some quiet way, your body is responding to the same stillness settling over the Earth. The magnetic field does more than protect you from radiation. It shapes every radio wave that travels through the atmosphere. It guides migratory animals across oceans. It anchors the compasses in your phone, your car, your memories of direction. And tonight it holds steady. Even deep underground, the slow-moving currents of molten iron continue their dance. They turn twist flow, creating the dynamo that sustains the field. If you could place your hand on the Earth's core, you would feel heat beyond imagination. But if you could sense its motion, it would feel like a slow heartbeat, a planetary pulse. Scientists believe this pulse has existed for more than 3.5 billion years. It has reversed direction hundreds of times, flipping north and south, but it has never stopped. You breathe out. Above you, the magnetic veil sways slightly, responding to changes in the solar wind that Ace detected earlier. Tiny shifts, minor fluctuations, nothing you need to think about. But the Earth thinks about them. The magnetosphere adjusts its shape by thousands of miles in response to these subtle changes. The entire field tilts, expands, or contracts, making room for the invisible flow pressing against it. And yet you feel safe. The veil is holding. NASA often releases images of the magnetosphere, not photographs, but visualizations created from data. In those images, the Earth sits at the center like a single glowing bead inside a translucent cocoon. It looks small, fragile, but the veil around it glows with strength. Electric blue arcs, golden lines of force, curves that bend but do not break. The world has always lived inside this shelter. You're wrapped in it now. There's a softness in the air, a feeling that the planet is carrying you rather than the other way around. Your thoughts are slower, your breath deeper. You wonder quietly, gently, whether the sky ever feels heavy from holding so much. The thought drifts like a feather caught on a breeze. The magnetosphere continues its silent work. High above the equator, where the magnetic lines are smooth and wide, charged particles drift in long, lazy loops called drift paths. Some take a few minutes to complete their journey. Some take hours. Some take days. Imagine particles circling the Earth the way small boats drift on a massive invisible tide. They move without hurry, without fear. The Earth knows their paths. The sun nudges them. The magnetic veil guides them gently along curves older than history. You sink deeper into this quiet. At the poles where field lines converge, a soft glow forms, not bright enough to be seen from cities, not dramatic enough to call an aurora, but present. A faint whisper of light created by electrons spiraling downward. A reminder that even in the calmest nights, the Earth is never fully still, and neither are you. The sheets around you feel warmer now, as if the room has drawn itself closer. Your own pulse has lowered, becoming part of the steady rhythm surrounding you. Before sleep pulls you further, a thought returns softer this time. Have you ever wondered whether the world is protecting you more tenderly than you ever realized? You don't answer. The question isn't really for answering. It's for feeling. The magnetic veil sways once more gently, like fabric touched by a slow-moving tide. You breathe in, you breathe out. The universe breathes with you. You've always thought of the air as empty, something you move through without noticing something surrounding you, but never calling your attention. But tonight, the atmosphere feels different, like a presence, like a soft skin stretched around the world, holding quiet secrets under its calm surface. You breathe in, and the air feels warmer than it did a moment ago. Maybe it's your imagination. Maybe it's the way your body relaxes in stillness. Or maybe in some delicate way, the atmosphere itself is responding to the sky above. Far above your roof, where planes fly, where clouds are born and torn apart, the air begins to thin. It becomes cooler, lighter, more fragile. And then, even higher beyond the reach of storms and lightning, the air becomes something else entirely. It becomes electric. This part of the atmosphere, the region NASA calls the ionosphere, never truly sleeps. It glows faintly with charged particles shifting and drifting as the sun breathes energy into it. Even at night, when sunlight falls away, the ionosphere remains awake, humming softly with electrons and ions that refuse to settle. You lie still, unaware that this glow, invisible to the human eye, forms a kind of whispering sea around the world. Radio signals travel through it like birds gliding across a smooth lake. Satellites skim its edge. Auroras dance at its highest peaks. And tonight the whisper is a little louder, not because of a storm, not because of danger, but because the sky is moving more than usual, a ripple in the magnetic tides, a shift in the charged winds above the Earth. NASA's Gold mission, floating 35,000 kilometers above the equator, watches the ionosphere brighten slightly, its ultraviolet cameras capturing the faintest changes. Icon. Another spacecraft senses waves drifting through the upper air. gravity waves traveling upward from storms and jet streams far below. These waves rise, stretch, and dissolve, stirring the ionosphere in gentle curls of motion. You breathe out slowly. If you could stand at the edge of this glowing layer, you would see currents of charged gas swirling like mist, shifting in color and density. The higher you go, the more the atmosphere feels like space, thin, trembling, illuminated by particles from the sun. But here on the ground, you feel only stillness. The whisper of the atmosphere isn't something that touches your skin. It touches your mind in a way so soft you barely notice. As the ionosphere changes, something else stirs in the lower layers of the atmosphere, a response subtle as the ripple created when a pebble drops into a pond. The mesosphere softens. The stratosphere settles. Even the troposphere, the part of the atmosphere you breathe every moment, seems to ease into a quieter shape. The air becomes smoother, more fluid, more willing to let your thoughts drift. Your chest rises gently, so does the world around you. It's strange, isn't it? How the atmosphere reflects the sky, not immediately, not dramatically, but with the patience of something very old. Above you, the faint patterns of the ionosphere continue to shift. Glow patches form where electrons gather. Dark zones appear where charged particles drain toward the poles. Scientists call these TC variations total electron content, but names don't matter right now. What matters is the feeling. The sky is not still. The sky is breathing. You turn your head slightly on the pillow. Your breath moves through the air, warm and slow, disappearing into the room. Outside, the atmosphere carries billions of breaths at once from forests, oceans, cities, deserts. It moves these breaths across continents without effort, weaving them into global winds. High-altitude currents glide across the planet, forming rivers of air jet streams, curving and twisting like strokes of ink across a painting. Closer to the surface, winds move more slowly, shaped by mountain seasons and the heat rising from the land. And above it all, the ionosphere listens. It listens to the sun's quiet voice, to the charged pulses arriving from space, to the soft echoes of thunderstorms rising from below. When lightning strikes anywhere on Earth, the flash creates an electromagnetic ripple, a whisper that travels through the atmosphere, bouncing between the ground and the ionosphere, like sound in a long hallway. NASA calls these Schumann resonances the heartbeat of the atmosphere. 7 main frequencies, all of them always present, all of them always humming. You don't hear them, but your body does. Your brain waves in their quietest moments drift close to those same frequencies, alpha, theta, creating a strange harmony between your mind and the air wrapped around the earth. Maybe that's why nights like this feel different. Maybe that's why you feel the atmosphere instead of simply breathing it. Above you, the faint glow of the ionosphere strengthens for a moment as more charged particles drift in along magnetic lines. The polar regions shimmer with invisible light. Low-latitude zones ripple gently. Nothing is wrong, nothing is out of balance. This is simply the sky adjusting to the universe. NASA satellites continue to watch, measuring every shift, recording every glow, listening to every whisper. But in this room, in this quiet, you don't need instruments. You only need the feeling of the moment settling around you. The air is telling a story older than human memory, the story of a planet wrapped in light, touched gently by a star far away. You close your eyes. The atmosphere holds you the same way it holds oceans, continents, forests. It presses against your skin with a weight so familiar you never noticed it was there. The ionosphere, glowing softly, moves like a tide. The magnetosphere sways far above it. The solar wind pushes both, and you hear breathing drift along with all of it. A thought rises from somewhere deep inside you, soft and slow. Do you ever wonder if the atmosphere remembers every breath the world has ever taken? The question floats away, dissolving into warmth. The room feels heavier, calmer, more whole. Tonight, the whispers in the atmosphere are gentle, and soon your breathing will become part of that whisper too. You've always imagined space as quiet, cold, empty, a place where nothing moves unless pushed, a place where nothing arrives unless summoned by gravity. But sometimes something unexpected enters the solar system, not because it was called, not because it belongs here, but because the universe is full of travelers we rarely see. Tonight, as you lie in the dim light drifting between wakefulness and dreams, another traveler approaches the sun. Silent, uninvited, beautiful in a way only distance can preserve. 3IATLAS, a visitor between stars. You didn't see its long journey. You didn't see it cross interstellar space, where temperature approaches absolute zero and time becomes a gentle blur. You didn't see it slip past invisible clouds of hydrogen or sail through regions where the starlight is so thin that entire centuries pass without a single photon touching its surface. But the universe saw it, and now the sun sees it too. You inhale slowly. If you could stand somewhere far above the solar system, far enough to watch the planets orbit like drifting lanterns, you would see a faint streak of light cutting through the darkness, moving faster than anything native to this place. NASA's instruments track it quietly without drama. The Minor Planet Center logs its coordinates. Solar observatories measure its brightness. Spectrometers whisper its secrets. A faint blue glow, a steady core, a motion so precise it feels rehearsed. You shift slightly, letting the quiet seep deeper. Interstellar objects are rare. Before 2017, no confirmed object from another star had ever been seen passing through our neighborhood. Then came Oumuamua, then Borisov, and now 3IATLAS, stranger than the first, quieter than the second. A visitor that doesn't behave quite like a comet, but not enough unlike one to break the rules. Not yet. As it approached the sun, it brightened. Not dramatically, not a burst, not a flare, but like something waking up, stirring gently under light for the first time in millions of years. Dust lifted from its surface, scattering in thin jets. Particles glowed faintly in ultraviolet light. Telescopes recorded streams of vapor stretching out behind it, long and pale, curling like smoke in a room without wind. You breathe slowly. If you could place your hand on its surface gently, as though touching something fragile, you'd feel a cold older than the earth itself. 3IATLAS may have spent eons drifting between stars, collecting frozen gases the way trees collect rings. NASA's data suggests carbon dioxide, maybe water ice, maybe compounds shaped by the radiation of distant suns. Nothing unusual, and yet everything about its presence feels unusual. You don't know why. Maybe it's the silence. Maybe it's the way it entered the solar system without a family, no parent star, no siblings, no cluster. Maybe it's simply the way it moves confidently, but without belonging. The solar system is warm compared to the void it came from. Even far from the sun, temperatures rise enough to shake dust loose. Gas sublimates, particles drift. Atlas responds gently, not violently, not like a comet exploding into activity, just breathing. You exhale softly. Some telescopes report faint jets. Some report a tail forming thin and straight. Some see nothing at all. And that uncertainty, the quiet gaps in the data, makes the moment strangely beautiful. The universe doesn't always reveal itself in numbers. Sometimes even NASA must watch with patience, waiting for the sky to speak. The object continues moving past the sun, past its closest point, carrying with it a silence shaped by another system, another time, another world entirely. You wonder for a moment whether anything ever touched it out there, whether dust from a supernova once landed on its surface, whether it passed too close to a rogue planet drifting between stars, whether it felt the magnetic breath of another sun. These thoughts move through your mind the way 3IATLAS moves through the solar system quietly, without asking permission. And then another thought arrives soft and unhurried. Do you ever think the universe sends us visitors simply to remind us that we're not alone in its vastness? The question drifts away, dissolving into the air. You shift your breathing, letting the rhythm of the story sink deeper into your chest. 3IATLAS is no threat. Its path misses every planet by a comfortable distance. NASA's calculations show no danger, no disruption, only passage. And yet, its presence deepens the mystery of interstellar space. Why do objects like this wander? What throws them out of their home systems? A passing star, a collision, the slow reshaping of gravity over billions of years. No one truly knows. All we know is this: every interstellar visitor carries history inside it, a geological memory of another sun, another world, another arc of time. Atlas may be a shard from a broken world. It may be a remnant of a disk of planets never formed. It may be a survivor of a star's death. And now, for the briefest moment, it shares its journey with you. The solar system pauses around it. Planets continue their motion. Satellites spin. The sun burns. And Atlas drifts between them all, a quiet, fragile thread, connecting ancient space with the warm light of our star. You breathe in gently. NASA's NEOWISE telescope detects faint heat. Ground-based observatories capture the soft glow of escaping gas. The object rotates slow and steady, revealing different sides to the sun, like a traveler adjusting a cloak. No signals, no anomalies, just motion. And yet the simplicity of it feels profound. In your room, the quiet grows thicker. The air feels warm, soft, curved around your thoughts. Your body relaxes deeper into the mattress. Above you, light from the sun continues to push against Atlas photon pressure, gentle but constant. The object responds with a tiny shift so small no one would feel it, but enough for scientists to record. A reminder that even the smallest forces shape the universe. And you, with your quiet breath and slow heartbeat, are part of that universe too. A single consciousness drifting through a cosmic story. A brief candle in a room as wide as eternity. Atlas will leave soon. It will pass beyond the planets, beyond the heliosphere, beyond the sun's protective bubble. It will drift into interstellar space again, carrying faint traces of our star with it. Dust from the solar system may cling to its surface. Ions may follow in its wake. And millions of years from now, perhaps it will pass through another system, under another star, where other eyes may see it. You'll never know that story. But tonight you know this one. You and the visitor between stars share the same moment. A brief intersection of paths, a quiet crossing of destinies, a whisper exchanged between worlds. You breathe. Atlas continues on, and the universe watches both of you with the same ancient patience. You don't feel it from where you're lying. The room is still. The air is warm. Nothing around you stirs or flickers. Yet far above, farther than your eyes could ever see, something ancient is unfolding, slow, powerful, and strangely tender. The sun is breathing, not the way you breathe, not in the rhythm of lungs rising and falling, but in great waves of magnetism and light invisible motions that roll through its atmosphere, shaping space in ways you could never witness directly. Every star breathes, but tonight the sun breathes a little deeper. Its surface looks calm from a distance, a pale circle suspended in the blackness. But close up, the sun is restless. Magnetic fields twist through its surface like ropes. Plasma rises and falls in loops tens of thousands of kilometers high. Dark sunspots expand and contract like slow heartbeats. NASA's SDO spacecraft watches these motions in ultraviolet light, capturing storms that would dwarf entire planets. If you could stand on the sun's surface, if such a thing were possible, you would see towers of fiery gas rising and collapsing, ribbons of magnetism snapping open and reconnecting. Each reconnection is a spark, a release, a sudden breath of the star, and sometimes that breath becomes a flare. A solar flare is light, pure, intense, immediate. It reaches Earth in 8 minutes, brushing the atmosphere like the strike of a distant match. But the flare's true power comes afterward, because sometimes the flare carries something with it. A coronal mass ejection, a wave of plasma and magnetic field, billions of tons of charged gas, leaving the sun with a speed that defies imagination. Some are slow drifting gently through space. Others are fast racing at thousands of kilometers per second. Tonight, somewhere far above, a CME moves through the solar system like a silent tide. You breathe in softly. You don't feel the CME. You don't hear it. You don't sense its arrival. But the Earth does. When the CME reaches the planet, it presses against the magnetic veil like a hand touching fabric. Not forcefully, not tonight, but with enough energy to shift the entire magnetosphere. NASA's DS Cover spacecraft, floating 1 million miles closer to the sun, feels the pressure first. Its sensors detect the density of the solar wind rising. Magnetic fields rotate. The shock front approaches. 8 minutes after the flare, the light arrives. Dozens of hours later, the plasma arrives. And Earth responds the way a harp responds when touched with a soft vibration. You exhale. This vibration isn't sound, it is motion. A slow ripple passing through magnetic field lines, stretching them toward the night side before snapping them back. The magnetotail trembles. Electric currents brighten. Particles rain down toward the poles, lighting the upper air. Auroras begin to form. Not everywhere, not tonight. Just faint glows in the polar sky where the atmosphere exudes a soft green breath. From orbit, the lights look like silk curtains swaying in a wind you cannot see. From the ground, they look like dreams. NASA's Themis satellites drift through the magnetotail, measuring the moment when magnetic energy turns into motion. MMS watches reconnection events, tiny snaps of magnetic tension, as electrons accelerate in spirals. The universe is so busy, and yet you feel no disturbance. Solar storms do not reach your skin. They do not touch your breath. Earth shields you with a grace quieter than sleep. But in a deeper sense, you are connected to all of this. Your body is full of charged particles. Your heartbeat relies on small, perfect electrical pulses. Your brain is a soft galaxy of signals drifting through synapses. And the world around you, the Earth, the magnetosphere, the sun moves to rhythms that echo through your body in ways subtle and ancient. You turn slightly. The sheets shift. Your breath calms further. Your muscles soften. The CME continues past Earth, gliding toward the outer planets. Its magnetic field begins to fade. Its particles disperse. Its motion slows. The sun breathes out. Space receives the breath. Earth adjusts. And you, wrapped in your quiet moment, drift with them. Sometimes people imagine solar storms as violent things, but they are often gentle. They shape satellites. They energize auroras. They whisper through the magnetosphere. Only rarely do they roar. Tonight the sun is whispering. SDO watches. SOHO watches. Parker Solar Probe, flying closer to the sun than any spacecraft before it feels the texture of solar wind as though running its hand through the sun's breath. Parker records particles moving faster than theory predicted. It measures magnetic waves rippling through the corona. It senses the slight twist, the switchback, where the solar wind changes direction unexpectedly. All of this happens while you lie in the dark, listening to your own quiet breathing. You inhale again. There's a warmth in the room that wasn't there before. Not physical warmth, something gentler, something internal. Maybe it's the story, maybe it's the rhythm, or maybe in some quiet way you're tuning yourself to the same slow pulse that shapes the space around Earth. The sun breathes fire, Earth responds with light, and you, small, fragile luminous, respond with calm. The story of a solar storm is not a story of fear. It is a story of connection, a reminder that even across millions of kilometers, energy moves in delicate ways, touching worlds without harming them. You feel the quiet more deeply now, a soft weight around your thoughts. And as your breath steadies, another question forms light as dust drifting through your mind. Do you think the sun knows how gently its storms cradle the earth even from so far away? The question fades. Your eyes grow heavier, and the sun continues to breathe. You don't notice it, but the earth has two quiet guardians always circling above you. Not mountains, not oceans, not clouds. Two rings of invisible energy, ancient, patient, and endlessly aware, drifting in a slow dance around the planet. If your eyes could see radiation, the way satellites do the sky above you would look nothing like the soft darkness you're used to. Instead, it would glow in two shimmering halos, the Van Allen belts. Tonight, as you lie in the dim quiet, these halos hum with a steady, gentle rhythm, the rhythm of particles caught in Earth's magnetic embrace. You inhale slowly. The belts are not dangerous to you. They sit far above airplanes, far above weather, suspended in the vacuum where satellites drift. They were discovered in 1958, just as humanity was learning to send instruments beyond the atmosphere. NASA's Explorer 1 spacecraft felt the first hints a rise in radiation that made its detectors fall silent from overload. It wasn't silence of emptiness, it was silence of abundance. Too many particles, too much energy. A quiet storm wrapped around the Earth for billions of years unnoticed. Tonight the belts glow a little more than usual. Not brightly, not dramatically, just enough for NASA's Van Allen probes, retired now, but still drifting in memory, to have noticed the shift. Earth has taken a breath, so have its shields. You exhale gently. Inside the belts, electrons spiral along magnetic lines, like dancers moving in slow circles. Some orbit the planet once, some take hours, some drift for years. They are held in place by Earth's magnetic field, not trapped, not imprisoned, but invited to orbit in a kind of eternal stillness. You roll slightly, finding a softer shape in the mattress. The belts respond far above relaxing after the passing of a solar storm. During strong solar winds, they inflate. During calm nights, they shrink. Tonight, they settle. Their edges smooth into gentle arcs. Particles drift inward, then outward, then rest. If you could float among them, you would see ribbons of energetic electrons like faint fireflies tied to invisible lines. They bend and shimmer and twist without sound. Parker's solar probe, far closer to the sun, feels the wind that feeds these belts. Magnetic storms from our star pour energy into them, making them breathe. And the Earth accepts all of it quietly, steadily, without letting it touch you. You breathe again. Behind the Earth, on the night side, something even larger unfolds, the magnetotail. If the Van Allen belts are halos, the magnetotail is a river, a long stretching tunnel of magnetic field extending millions of kilometers into darkness. You can't see it, but if you could, it would look like a cosmic trail of silk streaming behind the Earth as it moves through the solar system. The magnetotail stores energy like a reservoir. It fills when the solar wind presses against the magnetosphere, and sometimes softly, it releases that energy. MMS NASA's magnetospheric multi-scale mission flies through these releases at breathtaking speed. 4 spacecraft flying in formation, measuring magnetic reconnection with such precision that scientists see the universe rearranging itself in real time. But you feel none of it. Not the shifts, not the waves, not the gentle ripples passing through Earth's field. The shields hold everything for you. You nestle deeper into the pillow. The magnetotail stretches far into the night side, pulling energy with it like a tide. Every so often, magnetic tension builds until lines snap and reconnect, sending particles cascading toward the poles. This is what creates auroras. This soft release, this cosmic exhale, lights the sky in green, violet, blue. Tonight, the magnetotail is calm. No snaps, no bursts, just slow movement. A long river of magnetic lines drifting in stillness. The solar wind taps gently at the magnetosphere. Earth leans into the pressure with a grace it has practiced for billions of years, and you drift with it even without knowing. Your breath slows, your heartbeat softens. You imagine for a moment being able to see Earth from far away. It would look small, a marble floating in darkness, wrapped in layers of light and shields and quiet armor. People often think of Earth as fragile, but tonight it feels profoundly strong. The belts, the magnetosphere, the tail, the atmosphere, all of them protecting you with a tenderness older than life itself. You inhale again. Above your head, satellites move calmly through regions safe from the belts. GPS networks trace their paths. Weather satellites watch cloud patterns swirl. Communication satellites pass signals through the calm upper layers of the atmosphere. Everything works because the Earth keeps the universe at a respectful distance. Particles from the sun, millions of them per second, rush toward Earth, and Earth answers with softness. The magnetic field bends, the belts shift, the magnetotail absorbs. Protection without violence, strength without noise. You roll slightly under the blanket. Your breathing becomes slower, deeper, more even. NASA sometimes describes the magnetosphere as a shield, but that word sounds rigid, almost metallic. Earth's shield is not that. It is fluid, graceful, living in its own way. A magnetic ocean that holds the solar wind at bay with curves, not walls. If your thoughts were clouds, the magnetosphere would be the wind guiding them gently across the sky. And then, as if carried in by a passing thought, a question floats through your mind. Is it possible the Earth has been protecting you long before you ever learned it was trying to? The question doesn't linger. It melts softly into the moment, like a ripple disappearing into calm water. You breathe one last time slowly. The great quiet shields continue their work. The Van Allen belts drift. The magnetotail stretches behind the Earth like the long shadow of a guardian. Nothing touches you. Everything protects you. And as you sink deeper into the quiet, the Earth keeps watch silently, endlessly, lovingly. If someone asked you whether the Earth and the sun ever speak to each other, you might laugh softly, thinking it's a poetic question with no scientific meaning. But as you lie here in the quiet, wrapped in the hush of your room, something inside you feels ready to consider the idea a little more gently. Because in a way that only the universe understands, they do speak, not with words, not with voices, but with light magnetism particles and motion, a conversation so ancient and so subtle that every living thing is shaped by it. The Earth listens, the sun breathes, and between them, the space in which you sleep becomes a bridge of quiet signals. You inhale slowly. Somewhere far beyond the walls around you, NASA's satellites drift through the darkness, watching these exchanges with instruments sensitive enough to measure invisible ripples. SOHO listens from its distant vantage point. Discover feels the pressure of the solar wind. SDO watches flares bloom and fade like brief thoughts crossing the sun's surface. Every one of these signals becomes part of the Earth-Sun conversation. You exhale. The sun is never truly still. Its surface boils. Magnetic fields twist into knots. Hot plasma rises and falls in loops taller than planets. And through it all, the sun emits a constant breath. The solar wind, a stream of charged particles flowing outward through the solar system. The Earth sits within that wind, cradled by its magnetic shield. When the sun strengthens its breath, the Earth leans in, adjusting its own magnetic posture. When the sun quiets, the Earth softens its defenses, letting the magnetosphere relax into a more peaceful shape. Tonight, the sun's wind is steady. Not calm, not aggressive, simply steady. A soft outward exhale touching every world, every moon, every space between. You breathe in the same rhythm without thinking. If you could see the solar wind with your own eyes, it would look like a river of faint light moving through space, almost transparent, almost intangible, yet powerful enough to shape magnetospheres and auroras. And the Earth responds with its own kind of breath. Its magnetic field vibrates. Particles drift along field lines. Currents shift in the ionosphere. Auroras brighten and fade at the poles. It is all part of the conversation, a cosmic call and response that has been happening for 4.5 billion years. You turn your head slightly on the pillow. Your breath comes slower, matching the softness around you. Think of how the sun touches everything on Earth. Leaves open in its light. Oceans warm under its heat. Clouds rise from its energy. Winds form storms, gather rainfalls, all because the sun whispers warmth across space. And the Earth answers. Rain nourishes soil. Plants grow. Currents move in the oceans. Heat rises from deserts. Air shifts across mountains. Every ecosystem on Earth is part of the sun's message. Even your breath, slow and quiet, is part of that long chain of responses. You inhale. High above the planet, the ionosphere glows faintly in the sun's ultraviolet light. Even when you sleep, that glow continues a thin, luminous skin that reacts instantly to solar radiation. NASA's Gold mission watches the ionosphere change shape with each new wave of sunlight. ICON listens to tiny ripples rising from storms far below, carrying messages upward like breaths moving through layers of atmosphere. The Earth's reply to the sun is gentle, complex, and constant, and all the while you lie still, floating in the center of their ancient dialogue. Space weather scientists call this the solar-terrestrial relationship, but the phrase feels too clinical for something so quiet and beautiful. You picture the sun sending waves of light across the void. You picture the Earth catching them like soft hands. You picture yourself sheltered between their motions, a small presence carried in the calm of planetary harmony. As the solar wind touches the magnetosphere, it causes tiny oscillations, magnetic pulsations that move through Earth's field like subtle music. Some pulses are fast, some slow, some resonate with the planet's core, some drift along field lines toward the poles. If your mind were quiet enough, truly quiet, perhaps you could imagine hearing them, not as sound, but as a feeling like this one. You shift slightly under the blanket. The air around you feels denser, warmer as your body falls deeper into rest. The sun sends radiation to Earth in light and particles. The Earth replies in auroras, magnetic currents, and atmospheric waves. It is a conversation made entirely of motion, a dialogue older than life, older than continents, older than oceans. And somehow, in this moment, you feel part of it. Your breath moves in a slow rhythm like waves reaching the shore. Your muscles soften. Your heartbeat becomes steady. A thought drifts across your mind, soft, weightless. Is it possible that your own calm tonight is simply you tuning into a harmony the Earth has always known? The question doesn't need an answer. It is enough to let it linger, then fade like a ripple flattening on still water. Above you, the Earth continues its quiet reply to the sun. Currents circle the poles. Invisible waves ripple through the magnetosphere. Particles drift, fall, rise. The auroras in the far north and south grow a little brighter, not enough for anyone outside the polar regions to see, but enough for satellites to sense. The sky is not dark, it is alive. Even now, NASA's Themis satellites drift through the magnetotail where the sun's earlier whispers gather and settle. The tail bends under pressure, Magnetic lines pull, taut, then relax. Every motion is part of the conversation. The solar wind pushes. The magnetosphere leans. The atmosphere responds. And you, without noticing, relax in the same direction. Your breath slows, your shoulders loosen, your eyelids become heavier. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are a pattern flowing inside a greater pattern, a thread woven into a larger tapestry. The atmosphere holds your breath. Gravity holds your body. The magnetosphere holds the world. And the sun holds everything with a warmth that has shaped every moment in Earth's history. The conversation continues not in words, not in sound, but in light and motion, and the gentle exchange of energy across space. You let that quiet truth cradle you. Your breath settles, your thoughts drift, your body sinks deeper into the soft darkness. The sun whispers, the earth replies, and you drift within the long, peaceful space between their sentences. You've always imagined space as empty, a vast darkness, a quiet that stretches forever, a nothingness so deep that even light seems small inside it. But space is not empty at all. Tonight, as you lie still in the gentle dark, you begin to sense something different, that the universe has a structure, a softness, a kind of architecture hidden beneath the silence. If you could float beyond the atmosphere, beyond the magnetosphere, beyond the winds of charged particles drifting from the sun, you would find yourself moving through something that feels almost alive. Not air, not light, something quieter than both. Plasma, the fourth state of matter, not solid, not liquid, not gas. A sea of charged particles, electrons drifting free ions, moving slowly, magnetic fields threading through them like invisible rivers. NASA senses this architecture constantly. The Parker Solar Probe feels the texture of plasma near the sun. The Voyager spacecraft, far beyond the planets, now drifts through the plasma between stars. The magnetospheric multiscale mission touches magnetic lines that crackle with energy. Space is not empty. It is a soft web of charged matter, delicate enough to pass through your fingers, strong enough to shape the motion of worlds. You breathe quietly. If your eyes could see plasma, it would look like faint smoke drifting across an endless room. Sometimes it is smooth, sometimes it curls, sometimes it forms sheets, invisible curtains, stretching across millions of kilometers. And woven through this sea is something even more subtle: magnetic fields. Every magnetic field from the sun, from planets, from stars, bends the plasma around it. Every movement of plasma bends the magnetic field in return. A dance without sound, a structure without walls. This hidden architecture, this soft scaffolding holding the solar system in delicate patterns, is what shapes your night sky. You don't see any of it, but you are held inside it. You shift slightly, feeling the softness of the pillow beneath your cheek. Even here in your room on a planet wrapped in atmosphere and clouds, the structure of space above you determines more than you realize. The auroras are shaped by plasma. The path of satellites curves with magnetic lines. The solar wind flows through gaps in the field like wind finding a doorway. NASA calls these magnetic corridors flux transfer events, places where the magnetic field of the sun and earth connect, briefly forming openings through which particles can pass. These openings are small, transient, delicate as the flicker of a candle. You would never notice them, but they help sustain the entire architecture of space. You inhale gently, feeling your breath move in a rhythm older than biology. Space has its own rhythms, pulsations of plasma waves carried through the magnetic field. Some waves travel slowly like deep ocean swells. Some move quickly like ripples disappearing under moonlight. Some resonate softly with the earth itself. Your brain waves mirror some of these frequencies. Your heartbeat slows in harmony with others. Perhaps that is why nights like this feel different, as if your body is remembering a pattern written long before life began. The hidden architecture continues to unfold above you. Near the Earth, the plasma is thin, a few particles in every cubic centimeter. Far from the planets, it becomes denser. Closer to the sun, it becomes hot, bright, alive with motion. At the edge of the solar system where Voyager 1 travels, the environment changes again. The solar plasma gives way to the interstellar plasma, and the spacecraft senses a new kind of quiet. A boundary NASA calls the heliopause, a doorway between the sun's influence and the space between stars. You exhale softly. The architecture of space isn't rigid. It bends with magnetic storms. It shifts with the solar cycle. It ripples with waves that drift through the cosmic sea. But in the calm moments like tonight, it feels like a vast, peaceful chamber surrounding the Earth, a cradle of quietness, a sanctuary of motion so slow you could imagine time resting inside it. You imagine yourself floating there weightless, drifting in a sea of invisible lines. All around you, magnetic fields curve like gentle currents. Plasma flows in ribbons. Particles drift in spirals softly lit by the sun. There is no sound, no sharp edges, no heaviness, only movement, slow, graceful, constant. The structure of space shapes everything. The paths of comets, the boundaries of magnetic fields, the breathing of the sun, the shielding of the Earth. Even 3IATLAS, the visitor passing through the solar system, feels this architecture. It bends slightly under the sun's magnetic influence, drifting through regions shaped by the plasma environment. Planets are small compared to this vast network. Moons are smaller still. But plasma and magnetic fields, they fill the entire solar system like breath inside a lung. You visualize that breath. The sun exhales plasma. The solar system expands with light. Magnetic fields carry energy outward. The solar system inhales plasma from interstellar space. The heliopause shifts, drawing in currents of particles shaped by stars that lived and died long before Earth existed. Every breath is slow, every shift is gentle, and you, without realizing, breathe in the middle of it. You inhale again. NASA's IBEX mission captures particles that drift inward from the boundary of the solar system, messengers from distant stars. The mission maps the shape of the heliosphere, revealing it is not a sphere at all, but a softened, asymmetric bubble shaped by the flow of interstellar plasma. Everything is softer than we once believed, less rigid, less sharp. Even space itself is more like fabric than emptiness. You exhale. The architecture continues quietly above you, not a structure of steel or stone, but a structure of motion, temperature, gravity, charge. A structure whose strength lies in its fluidity. If you could reach out and touch the space between Earth and Sun, your hand would pass through it, but the motion of plasma would curl around your fingers, reacting to your presence in ways too delicate to feel. Every spacecraft that travels through space experiences this architecture. Every comet moving toward the sun threads its tail through magnetic lines. Every planet carves its own small pocket in the cosmic fabric. Earth's magnetic field forms a cavity in the solar wind. Jupiter forms a larger one. Saturn, Uranus, Neptune each has its own space carved from plasma and field. And in all of it, you remain sheltered inside a structure too vast to comprehend, but too gentle to ever disturb your sleep. The hidden architecture of space is not something to fear, it is something to rest inside. Tonight you feel it not with your skin, not with your eyes, but with the quietness in your thoughts. A softness older than Earth, a structure woven from energy and silence, a sky that holds you without ever being seen. You breathe once more slowly. Space is not empty. It is the most delicate architecture ever built, and somehow without trying it, holds you perfectly. You don't notice time passing when you breathe. There's no sound when a second folds into the next, no glow when a minute dissolves, no breeze when an hour glides by. Yet tonight, as your body sinks deeper into the stillness around you, you begin to sense something softer, a current moving beneath everything you are. Cosmic time, not the time you keep on clocks, not the time measured in schedules, alarms, or minutes, a quieter kind of time, the rhythm the universe keeps for itself. If you closed your eyes a little more deeply, you might feel the faintest drift of it passing around you like a slow river moving through darkness. The stars age, galaxies rotate, light travels, particles decay, and all of it unfolds inside the same quiet current. You inhale slowly. NASA's telescopes from Hubble to JWST observe the universe as if staring into a deep ocean of time. The farther they look, the older the light becomes. The galaxies in their images shine not as they are now, but as they were billions of years ago. Every picture is a memory, a window into moments so ancient that even dust had a different rhythm. You lie still, imagining that distance, that vastness, and realize that your own life is an instant inside it. Not small in a way that diminishes you, but small in a way that makes everything feel delicate, connected, and strangely peaceful. Time drifts around you. Silent, unhurried, endlessly patient, you exhale. Not all time in the universe moves at the same pace. Einstein showed that gravity bends, it slows, it reshapes it. Near the Earth's surface, right where you're lying now, time runs a tiny bit slower than it does for satellites orbiting above. NASA's GPS network accounts for this every moment of every day. Your phone only knows where you are because the universe allows time to stretch and compress like a soft fabric. If you were floating in orbit right now, seconds would pass just slightly faster for you than they do on the ground. And if you could stand near a black hole just close enough to feel its gravity tug at light, time would drip more slowly than anything you could imagine. But here in your room, time moves at a pace that feels almost like breathing. Slow, gentle, measured by the calm inside your thoughts. You sense it without trying. The drift of cosmic time is not something loud or dramatic. It's a whisper beneath existence, the flow that shapes the planets, the expansion of the universe, and the quiet aging of every living thing. Between the stars, time is smoother. Space expands, stretching light like a thread pulled gently across fabric. Distant galaxies drift farther away, carried by the cosmic expansion that began 13.8 billion years ago. You're lying still, but everything around you, everything in the universe, is moving outward. Even the atoms in your body carry traces of that expansion. The calcium in your bones was forged inside a massive star that collapsed billions of years before the Earth existed. The iron in your blood once belonged to a star that died in a supernova explosion. The hydrogen in your cells is older than galaxies, older than light-born moments after the Big Bang. You are not separate from cosmic time. You are a continuation of it. You shift gently under the blanket. NASA's Deep Space Network listens to spacecraft moving outward through this river of time. Voyager 1 travels farther than any machine humanity has built, drifting through interstellar space where sunlight is faint and cosmic rays whisper across its antennas. Each signal takes over 22 hours to reach Earth, a day of cosmic time for a single message. The universe doesn't hurry, it never has. And tonight in this room, neither do you. Your breath slows, your heartbeat softens, your mind settles into the same calm rhythm that governs galaxies. Cosmic time is not linear. It expands and folds. It flows and lingers. It stretches across distances too large to imagine. But for you right now, time becomes something gentler, a comfort rather than a measure. Above you, the Earth rotates one slow turn every 24 hours. The moon orbits one soft circle every 27 days. The planets drift in ellipses shaped by sunlight and memory. Every orbit is a clock, every cycle a heartbeat. Even the solar system itself moves through the galaxy at over 200 kilometers per second. But you feel none of that speed, because cosmic motion is smooth balanced, carried by gravity's invisible hand. You breathe in gently. The galaxy, the Milky Way, rotates with such slow majesty that a single revolution takes 230 million years. Every star, every cloud of gas, every planet is part of that long, graceful dance. Earth has made that journey only 20 times since life began, only once since dinosaurs walked. The scale is so vast, so ancient, that time loses its sharpness and becomes something softer, a presence rather than a measure. Cosmic time is the slow movement of everything. The expansion of space, the drift of planets, the fading of stars, the cooling of worlds, the quiet heartbeat of the universe itself. You are floating inside it. You exhale and the moment feels longer than it did before. Not heavier, just deeper. Cosmic time doesn't rush, it doesn't demand, it doesn't move in steps or hours or deadlines. It flows the way water flows through stillness. It settles the way dust settles in sunlight. And somehow, without noticing, you have matched its pace. Your breath is slower, your body is softer, your thoughts drift farther apart. NASA often compares the universe to a tapestry, a fabric woven from time, space, matter, and energy. But lying here, feeling the quiet expand around you, it feels less like a tapestry and more like a tide, a gentle tide moving everything forward. Stars form, planets cool, galaxies rotate, light travels, you breathe. Cosmic time holds all of it older than memory, older than stars, older than the word time itself. You sink deeper into the moment. The universe keeps drifting. The stars keep aging. The galaxies keep expanding. But here for you, time becomes light, warm, and soft. A blanket, a cradle, a quiet river carrying you into sleep. There is a moment just before sleep touches you when the world around you feels still. The walls don't move. The floor doesn't shift. The air rests gently in the room. But far beneath you, deeper than your breath, deeper than your heartbeat, the earth is moving. Slowly, endlessly, quietly. You lie there unaware of the ancient machinery turning under your body, yet every continent, every ocean, every mountain is drifting millimeter by millimeter, year after year, in a motion older than life itself. The earth's crust, the place where your home stands, where your memories sit, is only a thin shell, barely 30 kilometers thick on average. A fragile rind floating on a sea of molten rock that glows like an ember thousands of kilometers wide. You breathe in. Below your feet, the upper mantle flows like warm honey. Not fast, not loud, but slow, steady, patient. The convection currents in that mantle rise and fall over millions of years, pushing continents apart, pulling them together, shaping the face of the world in rhythms too long for a single human life to witness. But right now, as you're lying here, the floor under you is drifting just a little. Not enough to feel, just enough to remind the universe that nothing is ever truly still. NASA's satellite missions. Grace. Grace. Foes track these subtle shifts, watching how Earth's mass moves from deep within. They see glaciers lighten the poles as they melt, volcanoes swell with magma, and tectonic plates slide past each other with the slow confidence of time. You exhale. You may never notice these movements, but the Earth remembers every inch. Sometimes beneath distant oceans, magma rises quietly, building mountains no one will ever see, seamounts taller than Everest, hidden beneath waves. Sometimes molten rock pushes upward, lifting a patch of ground by a few centimeters like a breath beneath a blanket. And sometimes, without warning, pressure that has been building for centuries releases in a single moment, a quiet sigh turning into a sudden tremor. Volcanoes awaken. Fault lines shift. Mountains lift slightly, then settle, not violently, just naturally, a long story expressing itself one chapter at a time. The earth beneath you is not dangerous tonight. It is simply alive. NASA and USGS map thousands of volcanic systems around the world, some dormant, some active, some sleeping with one eye open. In Alaska's Aleutian Arc, magma chambers breathe slowly under the crust, reshaping the land in silence. In Iceland, the mid-Atlantic ridge splits the country apart by a few centimeters each year, the earth writing its story in glowing basalt and rising steam. In East Africa, a great rift stretches quietly through deserts and valleys, creating a place where one day, far, far in the future, a new ocean will be born. And deep beneath Hawaii, the mantle plume that feeds its volcanoes pulses with a rhythm as slow as the universe itself. None of this is loud where you are. Tonight, the earth is gentle. You lie still, imagining these movements not as threats, but as slow breaths of a living world. The molten core turns, generating the magnetic field that wraps around you like an invisible shield. Every compass, every aurora, every satellite depends on that steady rotation. The inner core spins slightly faster than the earth above it, a strange dance discovered only recently by seismologists listening to the deep echoes of earthquakes. Inside that metal, heart-solid iron and nickel heat flows like memory. Some of that heat has been here since the planet formed 4.5 billion years ago. Some comes from radioactive decay, the quiet whisper of atoms splitting apart deep in the dark. It all rises slowly through the mantle, just enough to keep the world restless. But here in your room, the world feels completely still. You breathe in softly. Far beneath your feet, there are places where magma pools in chambers the size of mountains. They glow shift-press upward, not urgently, but patiently. Yellowstone, Etna, Popocatépetl, Fuego, Kilauea, Tal, names that carry ancient power. Tonight, none of them threaten you. They simply exist, reminders that the earth is always shaping itself, always dreaming in heat and pressure. Even the deep ocean trenches, the Mariana, the Tonga, the Philippine, are places where tectonic plates slide beneath each other, sinking into the mantle like old memories returning home. Their earthquakes whisper upward through thousands of kilometers of water before fading into stillness. You exhale again. The world has its storms, its eruptions, its shifting crust, but most of the time, the planet moves with a gentleness too soft for humans to feel. Gracefo sees these shifts in gravity like tiny dimples on a sphere. NASA's satellite altimeters watch coastlines rise and fall by millimeters. INSAR interferometry maps deformations in volcanic fields so subtle that even someone standing on them would never know. These technologies catch whispers, not shouts, just like you catch the softness of your own thoughts as they settle, drifting slower and quieter with each breath. Tonight, the Earth's deep currents mirror your own. The mantle flows slowly beneath your stillness. The crust cradles your weight effortlessly. The core hums with heat that has been glowing since before the moon existed. You are lying on a world that has survived every storm, every impact, every eruption. A world that heals itself in centuries and builds itself in millennia. A world that moves beneath you in ways you cannot feel but are always carried by. You breathe in, a little deeper. You are part of the earth, born from its minerals, shaped by its gravity, held gently by its air. There are mountains that rise quieter than your breath, oceans that circulate more smoothly than your thoughts, continents that drift slower than your heartbeat. And tonight, as your mind softens and you settle deeper into the dark, you move with the earth, slowly, gently, unconsciously, through space, through time, through the quiet presence of a living planet. The drifting, the breathing, the warmth, the stillness, it all carries you towards sleep. There is a kind of quiet that lives in the sky above you. Not the quiet you hear in a room, not the quiet between your breaths, but a much older silence, the silence of light traveling across space, carrying memories older than the earth. Tonight, as your body settles deeper into the softness around you, the sky above the world becomes a vast memory field, a place where every photon is a messenger traveling for thousands, millions, even billions of years to reach you. You lie still, your breath slows, and somewhere in that stillness, the sky begins to unfold like a dim, endless ocean. The stars you may have seen since childhood are not shining as they are now. They shine as they were long before anyone spoke your name. Some of them no longer even exist. Yet their light continues still traveling, still arriving long after the star itself faded. NASA's telescopes, Hubble Chandra Spitzer, and now the James Webb Space Telescope don't just take pictures of space. They take pictures of time. Every image is a time capsule, a way for the universe to say, I remember. You breathe in softly. Light travels at 300,000 kilometers per second, yet the distances in the universe stretch so far that even this speed feels small. The closest star, Proxima Centauri, sends its light across 4.2 years of darkness before it touches Earth. The Andromeda Galaxy sends light across 2.5 million years. Some galaxies in JWST's deep field projections sent their light when the universe was less than 5% of its current age. Light is patient, more patient than anything you'll ever know. You exhale. Above you, the sky remembers everything light has carried: the birth of stars, the collapse of others, the swirling clouds of nebulae forming in colors too soft for human eyes to truly see without help. The Orion Nebula glows with newborn stars wrapped inside pockets of cosmic dust. The Eagle Nebula's pillars of creation shimmer with the faint heat of forming suns. Carina's great clouds stretch wider than your imagination, glowing with hydrogen shaped by winds from massive stars. And all of this, every tiny spark and swirling cloud, travels to you as light, thin, gentle, ancient. You breathe again slower. The atmosphere above you shapes that light, bending and blurring it, making the stars shimmer softly. But above the atmosphere where NASA's telescopes float in the dark, the sky becomes crystal clear. Hubble has watched galaxies collide in slow motion. Chandra has listened to the whispers of X-rays from black holes. Fermi has captured explosions so large they shake space-time itself. And JWST has revealed galaxies that formed only a few 100 million years after the Big Bang, a time when the universe was still learning how to shine. Every photon that reaches these instruments carries a fragment of a story, a memory of where it began. And tonight, as you lie here, the sky continues sending those memories toward you, whether you see them or not. The air around you is filled with invisible light, infrared, microwave, ultraviolet, moving through your room, passing over your skin, whispering through the darkness like gentle wind. You don't feel it, but it's there always. The universe is always speaking in wavelengths, radio waves from pulsars ticking like enormous cosmic clocks, infrared heat from dust clouds warming like soft embers, gamma rays flashing from distant explosions, visible light drifting in colors shaped by elements forged in stars, all of it traveling in silence, all of it arriving here. At the edge of your night, you breathe out. The cosmic microwave background. The oldest light in the universe surrounds you even now. It's everywhere, filling the room, wrapping the Earth, stretching evenly across the entire sky. NASA's WMAP and ESA's Planck satellite mapped it in exquisite detail, faint ripples, tiny variations and temperature clues to the birth of galaxies. It is the memory of the universe learning to let light go free, a baby picture of everything that exists. You lie still, sensing that ancient glow without ever seeing it. A background warmth barely above absolute zero, 2.725 Kelvin, yet carrying the fingerprint of the first moments after the Big Bang. Light remembers, and the sky remembers light. You breathe in gently. There is something comforting about knowing the universe keeps its stories. Stars burn and fade, galaxies collide and disperse, nebulae rise and dissolve, but their light continues traveling, carrying the truth of their existence long after the moment is gone. Your life, too, sends out traces of itself in ways you cannot see. Your warmth radiates into the room. Your movement stirs the air. Your presence leaves a soft imprint on the world around you. Even in stillness, you are not invisible. You are part of the quiet sky, part of the light that travels, part of the memory that continues. NASA often says every photon is a message from somewhere else, a message from some moment in history. Tonight, the sky above is full of messages you'll never quite read, but you can feel them gently like a tide moving through the dark. You exhale again. Somewhere, a star explodes in a supernova, sending out shock waves that will travel for millions of years. Somewhere else, a star is being born slowly inside a cloud so thick that only infrared light can escape. JWST sees that birth, the glow of dust warming the silhouette of a new sun forming. NASA's NICER instrument watches neutron stars spin with unimaginable density. TESS watches planets transit across the faces of distant suns, dimming their light by a fraction of a percent. Gaia charts the positions of billions of stars, building a map of the Milky Way so detailed it feels like a memory of the future. Every mission is a different way of listening to light. And you lying here are another listener, not with sensors or mirrors, but with stillness. You let the quiet hold you. You let the sky settle. You let the light arrive as softly as it always has. Above you, the universe continues shining, not urgently, not loudly, but steadily, a glow that never stops. Light leaves everything eventually. The warm skin of your hand, the soft surface of the blanket, the earth itself. Even your breath carries warmth into the air that radiates outward, rising gently, dispersing into the night. You breathe again slower, and in that soft rhythm you begin to feel the truth at the heart of the sky. Light is the oldest storyteller you'll ever know. It carries everything. It remembers everything. It travels until it touches someone who didn't know they needed it. Someone like you tonight, drifting in the quiet. The room is dim, the world is soft, the sky is full of ancient memories, and the light keeps coming, still traveling, still remembering, still unfolding above your breath. You drift with it quietly, gently, into the deeper calm waiting beneath sleep. There is a softness in the way water holds the world. You feel it even now, not physically, not as something wet or cool against your skin, but as a quiet presence that has shaped your entire life from the moment you were born. The oceans exist far from this room, yet their memory reaches you in ways you don't always notice. Every breath you take carries the faint work of plankton drifting through sunlit waves. Every cloud above you is written on the ocean surface, lifted gently by warmth and carried across continents. Every drop of rain that has ever touched your hands began its journey in some distant sea. You inhale slowly. For 4 billion years, the oceans have been shaping the earth with a patience that mirrors the rhythm inside your chest. They cool the planet, cradle storms, carve shorelines, pull the moon toward them with their tides, and breathe out clouds that drift across the sky like wandering thoughts. Tonight, you lie still as the oceans continue their slow work, breathing in heat, breathing out wind, holding the memory of everything the planet has ever been. NASA's satellites, Aqua Terra, Jason 3, Sentinel-6, watch the oceans with gentle precision. They see how warmth spreads through the surface, how deep currents rise and fall, how tides move like a pulse beneath the skin of the world. You exhale softly. Some of the water in the oceans is older than human history, older than mountains, older than continents, older than the moon itself. A fraction of it has been here since the Earth first cooled enough to hold liquid. Another fraction came from icy comets arriving in flashes of light billions of years ago. Every wave carries a memory of those beginnings. The Pacific stretches deeper than any place on land, more than 11 kilometers in the Mariana Trench. If you dropped Mount Everest into it, the summit would still be nearly 2 kilometers below the surface. Down there in the crushing dark life glows in blues and greens, shaped by pressures so great they would silence anything made for the surface. Creatures shimmer like slow-moving stars. Some live their entire lives without ever seeing sunlight. The ocean remembers them too. You breathe in again. Currents move through the oceans like a long, slow heartbeat. The global conveyor belt carrying warm water from the equator toward the poles and returning cold water back to the deep. It takes nearly 1,000 years for a single molecule of water to complete the journey. 1,000 years of movement, 1,000 years of drifting, 1,000 years of memory. The slow circulation shapes the planet's climate, moderates storms, and guides the path of life. It is not loud or sudden. It is a whisper of motion, a rhythm that has continued through every century humanity has lived. Even now, far away from any shoreline, the memory of the oceans is inside you. The salt in your blood echoes the chemistry of ancient seas, the ones where early life first formed. In a quiet way, the ocean has always been part of your body. You exhale softly. Above the oceans, storms swirl with the slow grace of dancers. Noah's satellites watch them form, rise, and drift across the world. Hurricanes draw heat from the water-shaped clouds into spirals and release energy in bursts of lightning that flash like thoughts in the atmosphere. Yet even storms don't disturb the deepest layers. The bottom of the ocean remains calm, a world of sediment, slow movement, and ancient silence. You lie still imagining it. The quiet, the darkness, the slow drift of life in a world untouched by sunlight. The Earth's largest mountain range lies there beneath the water, the mid-ocean ridge, stretching more than 65,000 kilometers around the planet. Volcanoes rise along its length, releasing heat and minerals into the sea. Black smokers' hydrothermal vents burst with water so hot it would melt metal at the surface. Yet here life thrives around them, nourished not by sunlight but by chemistry. NASA studies these vents because they may resemble the environments that gave birth to life on Earth, and perhaps life on other worlds. Europa, Enceladus, Titan moons with oceans hidden beneath ice may hold similar quiet worlds waiting in the dark. The memory of our oceans extends beyond Earth. You inhale again. Waves on the surface move in rhythms shaped by wind and moonlight. Tides rise and fall with a gentle pull from the moon, the same gravity that steadies your weight as you lie here. Every tide is a reminder that the Earth and moon are locked in a slow dance. The oceans feel that dance more deeply than anything else. When you hear the soft repetition of waves on a shore, you hear the sound of the moon moving across the sky. And even now, though you're nowhere near the water, that rhythm reaches you a subtle echo inside your breath. You exhale. The oceans cool the earth with a quiet mastery. More than 90% of the excess heat from the last century has been absorbed into the water, stored, distributed, softened. Without them, the world would be a harsher place, the storms louder, the winds sharper. But the oceans are patient. They choose slow change over rapid reaction. Their memory is long, and they move with the kind of calm that can only come from billions of years of experience. You lie still, wrapped in that calmness, feeling the way the world cradles you. The surface of the ocean reflects the sky each night, moonlight trembling in ripples, starlight bending across gentle waves. When astronauts look down from the International Space Station, they see the ocean shine like silk, glowing faintly where the moon touches them. From space, the ocean looks like the quietest part of the world, a vast blue stillness. But beneath that surface, everything is alive. Currents drift like thoughts. Heat sinks like memory. Life glows in the dark. The deep hums with volcanic heat. The surface shimmers with wind. The tides move with lunar breath. And all of those movements, from the smallest ripple to the deepest trench, continue beneath you even now as you breathe and settle into rest. The oceans don't sleep, but they hold the kind of calm that lets you sleep more deeply. You inhale once more gently, and the memory of the ocean settles around you, cool, soft, ancient, patient, as you drift into the warmth of the night.
There comes a moment at the end of a long journey when the universe feels almost close enough to touch, not because the stars move closer, not because the planets drift inward, but because you grow quieter, quiet enough to sense the gentle hum beneath everything. Tonight, at the close of this quiet journey through oceans, stars, earth, memory, and time, you arrive at a place even softer, the edge inside yourself where the universe becomes a whisper. You lie still, the room dim around you, the world easing into its own rhythm. Breath by breath, your body settles deeper into the dark. Thoughts stretch out slow and ribbon-like, losing their weight. And somewhere out beyond your window, beyond the sky, beyond every thin thread of atmosphere, the universe continues its soft, endless unfolding. NASA's telescopes drift in the dark, suspended in orbits, so smooth you would never feel the motion. JWST leans into the void with quiet eyes of gold. Hubble drifts like a lantern suspended above Earth. Voyager 1 floats farther still, beyond the reach of sunlight, into a sea of silence, where each particle of dust carries the age of stars. Yet here you are, held gently on a blue sphere, wrapped in air, wrapped in warmth, wrapped in night. You inhale. There is no rush in this moment, no urgency, just the slow exhale of a universe that has existed for nearly 14 billion years and will continue long after you close your eyes. You feel the calm begin to gather around you. The earth beneath you turns one slow rotation quiet as a thought drifting across water. The moon glides along its ancient path, pulling gentle tides you cannot hear from where you rest. The stars trace long arcs across the sky, even though your eyes are closed, and beyond them, galaxies swirl in spirals so wide they could cradle thousands of worlds like ours. The universe keeps moving, but you don't need to follow it anymore. Not tonight. You allow your breath to soften, sinking just a little deeper into your pillow. Your mind releases its grip on the day. The edges of the moment blur, not fading away, but becoming gentler, like ink dissolving in warm water. You exhale. In the darkness behind your eyelids, fragments of everything we've drifted through begin to shimmer softly. The quiet breath of the earth beneath your feet. The slow glow of light traveling across the universe. The memory of oceans older than mountains. The drift of cosmic time. The heartbeat of stars forming in distant nebulae. The soft hum of the magnetic field holding the planet. The pale blue atmosphere thinning into the dark. The old warmth rising from Earth's ancient core. Every part of the universe has its own quiet, and all of them have been moving around you, holding you, settling you into rest. You inhale slower now. You are not separate from any of it. Your heartbeat carries the rhythm of oceans. Your atoms carry the ashes of stars. Your warmth carries the glow of ancient suns. Your breath carries the whisper of Earth's atmosphere, moving in slow tides around the globe. You are a small part of something vast, and the vastness is gentle. Tonight there is nothing you need to solve. No questions waiting in the dark. No weight you need to carry. Everything can rest. Even the universe rests in its own way. Stars burn steadily, not urgently. Galaxies rotate, not hurriedly. Space expands with a softness too subtle to feel. Gravity holds everything in place, like an invisible hand cupping the cosmos. And you lie here, quiet, watched over by the same forces that cradle galaxies. You exhale again. The edge of sleep approaches like a tide you don't need to resist. It rises gently around you, not to pull you under, but to lift you into a place where thoughts drift without boundaries. Your body becomes lighter. Your breath becomes softer. The world becomes dimmer. Somewhere far away, a star is forming, glowing brighter inside a cradle of dust. Somewhere else, a comet passes silently between planets, carrying ancient ice. A moon circles a distant world. A planet cools in the shadow of its star. A black hole bends starlight into curves that never existed before. A galaxy breathes in spirals. A nebula folds into itself like silk. All of it continues, but none of it asks for your attention. You are free to let go now, free to drift as softly as dust in a sunbeam. Free to settle into the darkness without fear. Free to rest exactly where you are. Your heartbeat slows. Your breath moves quietly, almost without sound. Sleep approaches, thin, soft, beautiful, carrying the calm of a universe that has always known how to wait. You lie still, wrapped in silence, wrapped in warmth, wrapped in the slow, endless story of the cosmos. And in this final moment before sleep reaches you fully, you feel something that cannot be explained by science alone. A quiet belonging, a sense that you're exactly where you need to be in the soft gravity of night, in the gentle hush of the earth, in the ancient glow of the universe, held in a silence as old as the stars. Everything drifts, everything softens, everything breathes, and so do you. Slowly, gently, deeply, you exhale once more. The universe dims into a whisper, and you follow it into sleep.